I bought the original Retro Pocket 2 a few months ago and decided not to review it because I did not want to go through the troublesome process of actually navigating the Android UI here without a touchscreen. And I actually really ended up not liking this device whatsoever for what it was. I like the shell. I do like the look of this device and everything, but I don't like the UI and how this device operates. It just wasn't for me. So I decided not to review it at all. So I decided to wait for the Retro Pocket 2 Plus to come out and actually arrive in my office. And it definitely took a while, I have to say. But now that I have it, I must say that this is the best retro handheld. No contest. Under $100 to be exact, and probably considerably better than some of the higher end options in some ways. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it is going to be very close for the money. Let's dive right in. Now this video is sponsored by Eclipse. Eclipse is an AI-powered video clip highlighting and editing platform to help game streamers and content creators achieve their goal of going viral on the internet. Now, with just a single click, you can activate this powerful AI tool in order to extract and create perfectly curated clips and montages of all of your epic gaming moments. Eclipse makes life easy for streamers by compiling multiple clips from stream. The process is simple. Simply paste your stream's URL in the box and the AI tool does the rest. And then just edit the highlighted clip via the built-in editing suite, but you can also convert your clips into reels/shorts for your social media platforms. And the best part, Eclipse is 100% free to use. And so the first thing that you're going to want to do is just go ahead and create an account and then connect it to your Twitch, YouTube gaming, Facebook gaming accounts, etc. Eclipse will then just import streams from the last 14 days, choose a stream, and then click on the highlights button to create your highlights in an instant. Additionally, the next time that you stream, Eclipse will just automatically load and process your streams after you're done streaming, and no extra steps required at all. So some of the coolest features here are going to be weekly montage, which are going to be based on the AI tool that's going to pick out the best moments from your streams throughout the week and then create highlight clips. And then you can create your own short form videos for TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Reels. And you can go ahead and create and edit a split video within both Facecam and in both game footage, and you also get full screen support. Now you can use Split to edit in-game footage and Facecam footage in the same window. On the other hand, full screen allows you to resize your game feed according to your requirement. Above all, the feature can be accessed through both desktop and mobile browser, therefore increasing accessibility for streamer. And with the advent of Eclipse, gone are the days of trying to find the most epic portions of your streams to share online. So with the click of a button, this AI tool will do the job for you, leaving you more time to game and to rack up your epic gaming moments. So links to Eclipse down below. And thanks again for sponsoring this video. The exterior design consists of plastic for the entirety of the build. It feels pretty lightweight but not too cheap, so I would say that the design is overall fair. Ergonomically, I've gotten used to it considering how boxy it is, but I think that it's fairly comfortable now. I think it's pretty easy to pick up and play, and I can appreciate that. I went with this black color this time around because last time I went with the atomic purple color, and I have to say that I much prefer the modern look of the matte black device. This device is fairly small, but probably won't fit in your pocket all that well, mostly because of the thumbstick, which means that while the title itself is a lie, this is still a very portable device and something that's very easy to travel with. So on the front, you're going to find almost everything that you need, such as the front-facing buttons, a dedicated home button, select and start buttons for Android navigation, that tiny right stick from the Pocket 2, except that it is now an analog stick instead of a digital one. You will also find your front-facing stereo speakers, which we will talk about more soon. On top, you're going to find your shoulder buttons, micro HDMI port, USB-C port, volume rocker, and sleep wake button. On the bottom, you're going to find a micro SD card slot with this rubber flap that still sucks and a headphone jack. These buttons are vast improvements from the last model with great face buttons that feel genuinely premium and a fantastic D-pad. But the shoulder buttons feel kind of cheap and there is no L3 and R3 support, on this system, which is a shame even if you won't be using them all that much. Either way, I like most of what they did here. This device features a 3.5-inch 480p display, which is a touchscreen. This is probably an IPS screen, but the colors are not that great on this screen, and it doesn't really get all that bright either. So the screen itself is not really my favorite, but I understand where the compromise had to be made here. However, we can now go through Android with a touchscreen, and that is adding a lot more flexibility and points towards usability that simply were not there before. So sure, it's not that good of a screen, but I will take it if it means having touch controls any day of the week, because this device definitely needed it. So the speakers are positioned pretty well to face the user, and while they can be easy to cover up for someone with small hands like myself, I won't really have much of a problem with that since I'm barely covering them at all when I play. But in terms of sound quality, these sound okay. They're tinny and not really all that loud. They're kind of standard, maybe just a bit too quiet, but yeah, have a listen. This device features a Unisoc Tiger T310 CPU, 2GB of RAM, 32GB of eMMC storage, and Wi-Fi support for 5G networks, as well as Bluetooth 5.0 support. This also features a 4,000 mAh battery. This is genuinely a pretty good spec sheet for a device like this, and it will show in terms of this device's performance very soon. This device also runs Android 9, which is recent enough for everything that you will need to run on this device. It should even run the Aether X2 emulator, which will be very valuable for PlayStation 2 emulation. Now let's get into the game tests. I'm going to be testing out N64, Dreamcast, PS1, PSP, PS2, and Gamecube so that we can talk about how the system holds up emulating some of the more demanding games out there. So let's begin with N64 performance. I decided to skip SNES here because I always tend to test SNES on so many different devices and always get great performance, and from prior testing, I did get great performance here too with the Retro Pocket 2 Plus. I want to share my thoughts on N64. It's really good too. I tested out Ocarina of Time and got fantastic performance. The screen isn't great, but it appears to be really good for retro games, in particular because of the scaling. It all just looks so ideal as is, and I never really felt like I needed to make any changes. For a system like N64 or SNES, these are really well optimized out of the box, and that's just great to have from a handheld like this. Dreamcast is also a fantastic performer here through the Redream emulator. I tested out, check this out, the dark mode of the Sonic Adventure 2 game instead of the usual hero mode test. While it certainly is not as much fun, out of the jump, performance was extremely smooth on this device. I would say that the aspect ratio of this display, and again, the overall scaling, goes a long way to help make Dreamcast look really good on this device. Everything does seem to be falling into place pretty well here so far, and I do look forward to seeing what more we can achieve with the Retro Pocket 2 Plus. I have to commend the Redream team for making such a reliable emulator for Dreamcast, so very well done here. So PlayStation 1 is a system that to me can be rather frustrating to try to emulate at times because it requires multiple files to be functional at times, unlike PSP, for example, which uses .iso versus .bin, or .whatever, and the like. So through the main RetroArch launcher, I could not get PS1 to run and needed to download a different emulator. So I went with DuckStation because I know that it's a very reliable emulator for PS1. And while I, of course, lost the footage to it, it did run very well, and PlayStation 1 can reliably run on this device. There just isn't really too much to be said there, honestly, and I feel kind of naked without that footage too. PSP is when I started to notice some scaling issues, which is entirely expected considering that this device has a 4:3 display, which is definitely not the nearly 16:9 screen of the PSP. So text was somewhat crunched up, and even character models in something like Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep did look a little bit pixelated. Also, this device ran at slightly below 30 FPS, which might be worth noting here. Now, in terms of performance, we have another beautiful performer here. It's very smooth and everything seems to work as it should, but I will say that you will have to change the shortcut for save states because there is no L3 support here whatsoever, and that seems to be the one that's here by default. But besides that, you can still enjoy PSP on this device. It's just not really ideal for it because of the aspect ratio, but it's definitely still doable. So I was genuinely surprised with the performance regarding the next system, that being Gamecube. This system was able to run Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 just fine, with some audio issues and stutters popping up at times, but it wasn't so frequent that it got in the way of the gaming experience. It was the same for the Shadow the Hedgehog game, which surprised me considering how many things are going on at once. Now granted, it was not smooth per se, and the audio was still relatively choppy, but it is way better than what you will get on something like the RG552, which costs more than double of what this device does. So very satisfying when it comes to the least demanding games on GameCube, and I think that you will be fairly happy with the settings applied by default. However, something like Twilight Princess was both a surprise and still somewhat disappointing. This game is very demanding on most systems, and it was kind of an exception. There are audio issues due to the frame rate, mostly sitting between 15 and 25 frames per second. The audio is botched, which to me makes this game unplayable since I won't sit here and just deal with the audio problems. But overall, the game performance is fair. It did better than I expected because of the fairly satisfying performance of GameCube, and it only gets better from here because the latest update to the Retro Pocket 2 Plus, it does allow for even better GameCube performance, so I strongly recommend installing it when you get it. I wanted to show off how it performed without the update because I wanted to really hammer home just how good this device is for the price, even as it is, but yeah, I wouldn't really necessarily try playing GameCube without that update, just a heads up. Now, PlayStation 2 performance is understandably bad. I tried out Kingdom Hearts 2 with the Aether X2 emulator, and of course there was a lot of lag with it running at about 15 to 20 frames per second, sometimes lower. Now, it is still impressive that a game like this will run at all, but it is unplayable nonetheless. I'm sure that less demanding games might be playable, but right now with something like Kingdom Hearts 2, you won't be playing this game anytime soon on the Retro Pocket 2 Plus. I wouldn't expect it to either because PS2 is still a system that many devices struggle to emulate well, even at double the price of the RP2 Plus. I know that I always rag on the RG552, but quite frankly, a device that is $230 will still give you worse PlayStation 2 performance than this $100 device, so hey, take that for what you will. Now, when it comes to HDMI and what it's like to use this device with a monitor or your TV is mostly as expected. I don't love it too much because something like PSP games will get squished even on a 16:9 display, which is weird. So I wouldn't really use this to play PSP games, but any 4:3 game will look much better for sure. You can also hook up a Bluetooth controller to the RP2 Plus and just use it docked as like a dock system. Now, this is really cool, of course, but I don't think that the Retro Pocket 2 Plus is the right device for that kind of thing. So battery life for this device is pretty good, actually. It does have a fairly large battery, so you can expect about 3 to 4 hours of playtime for more lower end systems, and probably about 2.5 for higher end systems, but you should probably expect less than that depending on what you're playing. So in conclusion, this is without a doubt the best retro handheld under $100. This is just very difficult to dispute considering everything that you get for the money. If this is your budget, then this is what I would get unless you wanted a 16:9 screen for PSP, but seriously, this is where it's at. I'm sure that this device will also only get better with time as it has with the most recent update. This is just the number one option in my opinion for under $100. But this isn't a replacement for the higher end systems because there are a lot of quality of life improvements that you would get by spending more, and that even applies to performance. So if you still find yourself wanting more out of a device like this, then I definitely recommend that you save up for a little bit longer because at $100, this will eventually reach a ceiling, and it is almost there. Now, if you're someone with the older RP2 and wanted maybe just the same device but with better buttons and better performance, or in other words, just wanted a better RP2, then I can recommend this as an upgrade because it is pretty significant and it is affordable enough that I'm fairly comfortable saying that. So as you can tell, I really like this device for what it is, for the money, and I can strongly recommend it. So thank you so much for watching this video all the way up until the very end. It is always appreciated. And if you are interested in purchasing this device, if I can find any affiliate links to Amazon, I will make sure to do so. But at this time, I don't think that the Retro Pocket 2 Plus is available on Amazon, so I'll just leave an unaffiliated link to the official website, if anything, so you can go ahead and grab it from there. Also, I wanted to give a very special thanks to all of our patrons, which are going to be specifically the tier 3s here, Aaliyah and Omar. Thank you so much for all of your support, because it really does go a very long way. And you should be seeing the rest of the tier 2s on screen right now. Again, thank you so much for everything that you have done, because again, it always does go a long way. And if you are interested in becoming a patron for some early content, then do make sure to stop right on over there. That is always appreciated. I also like to stream on Twitch every now and then, so why not stop by? You can ask any of your questions live. Links to that down below, as well as my Instagram if you would like to follow me there. And lastly, I wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I know that there is a siren right outside just going nuts, going crazy, but this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy.